Have you ever walked into your bathroom or maybe down in your basement and spotted it? That dark, fuzzy, ugly patch creeping its way across the drywall or the ceiling. Let's be real with each other right out of the gate. That is not just a stain you can wipe away. It is mold. It's a living, breathing organism that is actively growing and spreading inside your house. And if you're like most folks, I know exactly what you do next because we've all done it. You head down to the big box hardware store, you walk down the cleaning aisle, and you drop 20 or 30 bucks on some heavy-duty chemical-laden miracle spray. You take it home, you nuke the spot, and boom, the wall looks sparkling white again. You patch us on the back, thinking you won the battle. But give it a few weeks, maybe a month. You look up and that exact same dark patch is back, and half the time it looks even worse than before. You are caught in a miserable, never-ending loop. You're buying bottle after expensive bottle, breathe in harsh fumes, and the mold just keeps coming back to haunt you. Today, we are putting an end to that cycle. I'm going to share some genuinely old-school wisdom with you. I'm going to show you exactly how the folks from generations past, the people who built this country with their own two hands, eliminated mold for good. More importantly, I'll show you how they stopped it from ever coming back, using things that cost pennies on the dollar. The old timers kept damp underground root cellars and drafty dairy barns completely pristine, use a couple of plain, cheap items, and a little bit of common sense. No $30 chemical bottles in sight. I want to help you fix your house, but I don't want anyone getting hurt. Mold is not just an eyesore. It's a genuine health hazard. It can seriously mess with your lungs and your breathing, especially if you have young kids, elder folks, or anyone with asthma living under your roof. You should never just shrug your shoulders and live with it. If you are dealing with a small, manageable patch on a bathroom tile or a windowsill, a careful homer can absolutely handle it. Just be smart on some rubber gloves, crack a window wide open, and wear a proper N95 mask that actually filters out spores. If you are dealing with a massive breakout covering a whole wall, if you suspect toxic black mold, or if someone in your house has a compromised immune system, stop. That is above our pay grade today. Call a professional with the right hazard gear. There is absolute no shame in knowing your limits and getting expert help. Do not, under any circumstances, just slap a coat of Kills or interior paint over the mold and pray it goes away. Hiding the problem does not heal the problem. It's just going to keep eating your house from the inside out while you and your family breathe in the spores. If you aren't going to fix it at the root, don't pretend you fixed it at all. Let's start by saving you some hard-earned money. Why does that expensive store bought bleach spray fail you every single time? When most people see mold, their knee-jerk reaction is to reach for the bleach. And here is the frustrating truth. On a hard, completely sealed surface like a glass shower door, bleach might actually do something. But in the real world, mold loves to sink its teeth in pores of drywall, your 2x4s, your grout, your concrete basement walls. And on those surfaces, bleach is practically useless. Here is what bleach actually does. It comes in, strips the pigment out of the mold on the surface, and turns it white. Your wall looks clean. So you think you've killed it. But you haven't. The moss-stalk roots of that mold are buried deep down inside the wood or the drywall, completely untouched. And it gets worse. Commercial most water. And what does mold need to survive? Water. You have literally just given the roots of your mold problem a giant drink. A few weeks later, it springs right back up to the surface, often darker and angrier than before, because you fed it. Think of mold exact like a dandelion in your front yard. If you take a weed whacker and chop the green top off that weed, the yard looks perfectly manicured for a few days. But the root is still in the dirt. It's going to pop right back up. You didn't fix the problem. You just gave the weed a haircut. The mold is exactly the same. The stain you see is just the top of the weed. To actually win the war, you have to kill the root. To reach those roots, we're going to use something dramatic cheaper and infinitely more effective than bleach. It's sitting in your pantry right now. Plain, cheap, white distilled kitchen vinegar. Vinegar does what bleach physically cannot do. It is mildly acidic, and it actually penetrates down into porous wood and drywall to attack the mold at its absolute base. Here is the exact fail-proof method the old teamers used. First, grab that cheap jug of white vinegar. Do not dilute it with a single drop of water. Watering it down ruins its fighting strength. You want it straight from the bottle. Put it in a spray bottle or use a sponge and saturate that moldy patch heavily. Once it's soaked, walk away. Leave it alone for 1 full hour. Do not rush this. Go have a cup of coffee. That quiet hour is when the heavy lifting happens. The vinegar needs time to seep deep in the wall and choke out those roots. Bleach works in 60 seconds, but only goes skin deep. Vinegar takes an hour, but finishes the job forever. After your hour is up, grab a stiff, give it a good scrub, and wipe it down with warm water. Finally, and this is critical, dry the surface as thoroughly as humanly possible. Point a fan at it if you have to. Any leftover dampness just rolls out the red carpet for new spores to land. Yes, your house is going to smell like a pickle factory for a little bit. But the smell of vinegar is entirely harmless. It won't burn your throat like bleach fumes, and it fades completely as soon as it dries. Now that the well is clean and dry to the bone, we want to make sure the mold never feels welcome there again. We do that with plain old baking soda. Mix about 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda into a cup of warm water. Spray or wipe layer of that mixture over the exact same spot you just cleaned. And here's the trick. Do not rinse it off. Let it air dry right there on the wall. Here is the science behind the old school wisdom. Mold thrives in acidic environment. Baking soda is the exact opposite. It is highly alkaline. When that water evaporates, it leaves behind a microscopic invisible film of baking soda on your wall. It acts like an alkaline shield. It makes the surface completely hostile to any new mold spores floating through the air trying to set up camp. Plus, a nice little bonus, soda absorbs that gross, musty, damp basement smell the mold left behind. A few pennies worth of baking soda left standing guard. Now, I'm going to shoot straight with you, just like I always do. This vinegar and baking soda trick is phenomenal. It works, but it will absolutely fail if you ignore the root cause of your problem. Killing the mold, that does not keep it gone if the thing that caused it is still there. Mold needs one thing to survive: dampness. If you have a slow weeping leak behind your drywall, a bathroom with no exhaust fan where the steam just hangs in the air for hours, or a cinderblock basement with zero airflow, you can scrub until your knuckle bleed. The mold will grow back because the dampness feeding it is still there. No cleaner on the planet, whether it costs $2 or $50, can keep mold off a wet wall. So, you have to put on your detective hat for a minute. Where is the water coming from? Is it the master bathroom? Do you have teenagers taking 4 or 5-minute hot showers with the door closed? You need to get that air moving. Open a window, install a strong exhaust fan, and let the room breathe. Is it a dark corner of your basement that smells like earthy dirt? You might need a dehumidifier to carry off that ambient moisture. Is it a spot under a window that drips condensation all winter long? Is there a slow, hidden drip from a joint in your plumbing? Find the water and stop it. The mold is merely the symptom. The dampness is the actual disease. Cure the dampness, and the mold starves. Leave the dampness, and you will be fighting this war for the rest of your life. That brings me to the greatest trick of them all, the real, absolute secret of the old builders. Have you ever wondered why 2-year-old stone farmhouses or those massive wooden barns out in Amish country don't have mold? They are unheated, built over dirt, and sit in the dampest, coolest condition imaginable. By all modern logic, they should be rotting from the inside out. Yet, The walls are pristine. Why? Because of something they built in the walls from J1. It's not a spray you use after the mold arrives. It's a ventilative coating, traditional lime whitewash. This is the genuine old world way. Forget modern hardware store paint. Lime whitewash is made from water, salt, and hydrated lime, specifically builder's lime or mason's lime, not the stuff you put on your garden lawn. Here is why it is practically magic against mold. Hydrated lime is powerfully alkaline. It is so alkaline that mold physically cannot colonize it. A wall coated in proper whitewash is a barren wasteland for mold spores, but it does something even more important. Here is the reason your modern house has mold and your great-grandfather's house didn't. Modern interior paints, the acrylic tech stuff you buy in plastic buckets, are designed to seal a wall up completely tight. Think of modern paint like putting on a heavy rubber raincoat. If moisture gets trapped inside the wall from humidity, a tiny foundation leak, or just the natural dampness of a basement, it can't get out. The rubbery paint traps the water inside the wall, creating a dark, clammy, wet greenhouse. It is the exact environment mold prays for. Old school lime whitewash is the exact opposite. Think of whitewash like a heavy, high-quality wool sweater. It breathes. If moisture gets into whitewashed stone or wood wool, the lime allows that dampness to simply pass right through it and evaporate harmlessly in the air. The wool never holds on the water. It naturally dries itself out. The old walls stayed dry because the coating allowed the building to breathe. Modern homes suffocate the walls, trap the damp, and grow the mold. When you seal a house up too tight, you are just manufacturing trouble you won't see until it blooms back through the drywall. And the cost? A giant sack of hydrated lime costs a few bucks at the masonry supply yard, and it will coat an entire basement. Compare that to hiring a professional mold remediation crew for thousands of dollars. Quick safety note, hydrated lime is caustic when wet. It will burn your skin and eyes. You absolutely must wear heavy rubber gloves and safety goggles when mixing and brushing it. Respect the materials. You might be sitting there thinking, if this works so well and costs practically nothing, why on earth didn't my dad teach me this? Why isn't this the first thing you see on every home improvement show? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I want you to see the shape of how the world works. There is an unbelievable amount of money in the mold business. There are millions to be selling you those 30 chemical bottles over and over and over again because they don't actually fix the root problem. But there is absolute zero money to be made in teaching a man that a $2 jug of kitchen vinegar and a $5 bag of builder's lime will solve his problem forever. You can't patent plain white vinegar. You can't monopolize baking soda. No corporate can get rich selling them, so nobody pays for commercials to advertise them. Nobody builds an empire teaching you how to use them. Over the last few generations, it just quietly slipped out of our collective knowledge. The cheap, permanent fixes were forgotten, and the expensive temporary bottles got all the airtime. The folks who built this country knew these tricks because they had to. They didn't have disposable income to throw at a problem. They needed fixes that lasted decades. So there it is, the old honest way to beat mold. Kill the root with straight vinegar. Guard the wall with baking soda. Fix the actual leak. And if you're dealing with a basement or an outbuilding, let the walls breathe with traditional lime whitewash. Next time, I am going to walk you through a complete step-by-step tutorial on exactly how to mix and brush on a proper batch of old school lime whitewash. I'll show you how to add breathable mold. Proof armor to your own damp basement. More shed walls so they stay clean for years. Until then, remember, a wall that breathes is a wall that lasts. Stop buying the expensive plastic bottles. Get back to the basics, and I'll see you on the next one.